I'm on Highway 440 between Summerside and Meadows on the north shore of the Humber Arm, and I'm looking at an outcrop of the Irishtown Formation. These are probably early Cambrian, that's Cambrian Series 2, rather quartzose turbidites. And they are, for the most part, rather parallel bedded, except that, as you can see here, the rocks are folded, and here the fold pattern is quite complex. So we believe these rocks have been deformed at least twice. Once during the emplacement of the Humber Arm Allochthon in the Ordovician, and then later during maybe the late Ordovician, maybe the Silurian in the Silinian orogeny, as terrains accreted from the east. And the Silinian deformation has produced inclined folds with axial surfaces that dip broadly to the west. And the fold that I'm standing in here is probably an example of one of those folds. In this area, these are the F2 folds. And in some circumstances, we can find earlier folds that we believe are Triconian folds, that is to say, Middle Ordovician folds associated with the emplacement of these allochthonous rocks onto the Laurentian continental margin. So at this location, if I walk along a little bit, above me, there is a fold hinge that doesn't really fit with the pattern of F2 folds. So up in the cliff above me, there is a fold hinge, and we'll see if we can zoom in on it. And that fold hinge defines an axial surface which continues up above me, and then that fold axial surface is itself folded by this F2 fold. So both limbs of the early fold come down and cut through the grass verge here at the edge of the highway. So to help visualize that, I can use a sheet of paper here. So we can explain the origin of this rather complicated folded structure by imagining that during emplacement of the Humber Arm Allochthon, we produced some west-facing tight folds, and that later on, during the Silinian deformation associated with the accretion of terrains from the east, that whole configuration of tight folds was folded back on itself, something like this, to produce the fold interference pattern that we see in the cliff behind us. So this is one of the places where we can handily see refolded folds in the rocks of the Humber Arm Allochthon, and those record first the Taconian orogeny, which emplaced the allochthon onto the Laurentian margin, and then the Silinian orogeny, probably, which produced the west-dipping cleavage and produced west-dipping axial surfaces that refold the earlier folds.